Question one, how much do you bike a day?
Oh, man. Well, I bike every single day. I'm actually part of what's called the 30 Days of Biking that's happening in April. So every day I go out and ride my bike. Because it's such crazy weather here in Iowa, the amount of miles I put in each day depends on the weather. So like today I rode my bike for 12 miles. Yesterday I rode my bike for 5 miles. And over the weekend I rode over 50 miles. So it really depends on the weather.
Okay, so even in these crazy quarantine times, you can still get out and ride your bike as much as you want to?
Yeah, it's still appropriate to get out and get fresh air. I've definitely changed where I go on my bike because, a lot of people are trying to get out and get fresh air. So some of the bike trails in my area will have a lot of walkers and a lot of people that don't normally get on their bicycle. So to keep myself safe and to not be in a situation where I'm too close to people, I just choose routes that I don't normally take.
Okay. And for the next question, what made you want to start biking?
Well, it's kind of like everyone in life. When you're a little kid, you get a bicycle at some point, you've got training wheels, and then you upgrade to a bigger bike. And I remember when I was a kid, I had a bike called Miss America, and it was red, white, and blue, and it was pretty sweet. And so I think that I loved being on that bike, probably because, when you're 10 years old and you got a bike that's kind of fancy like that, it was awesome. And then I don't remember really riding my bike very much once you get your permit, I had a moped, actually. I don't know if you know what a moped is, but it's a motorized. Okay.
I know what a moped is.
Okay, so I had a moped. And then once you turn 16, you have your driver's license. So I didn't really ride my bike very much until I went to college. And in college, I rode my bike because it was such a pain in the butt to park. You have to pay for parking to be on the college campus. And so I just rode a bike, and I rode it because I had to. Like, it was my form of transportation to get off campus. And then once I was out of college and, starting a new job, some of my coworkers would go on bike rides like one day a week. And so I would hear how much fun they would be having. And so I ended up buying the kind of bike for the terrain that they were going on, which was mountain biking. And then I got hooked. So I just kept riding and doing different styles. And living in Iowa, there is a bicycle ride that's been going on for almost 50 years, and it's called RAGBRAI. And people from all over the world come to this event. So it's kind of something to look forward to every year, and it helps you kind of stay focused on continuing to bike.
How often have you done RAGBRAI?
I have done RAGBRAI about 25 times, and I think 2020 will be the 48th year that it's taken place. So, and all my years I've done them have been consecutive. So I haven't missed a year. I started in 1997, and I have not missed one single year.
That's crazy. Now, don't you ride kind of the route twice now from your job?
Yeah, I'm part of it's called the RAGBRAI inspection team. So we go, it's a much smaller group. Real RAGBRAI is about 15,000 people, and the RAGBRAI inspection team is about 50. And what we do is we literally ride the same route, the same time of day and same time of week. So RAGBRAI is a 7-day tour that starts on a Sunday and ends on a Saturday. So when we do the route inspection, we also start on a Sunday and end on a Saturday. It's just about a month and a half early, and the reason it exists is so that we can determine where truck traffic may be, where businesses that may not be suitable for bike riding are taking place, also to check out the quality of the roads. So then we report that information back to the town, the cities, the county, and the like the DOT, and they have the opportunity to make changes. They may, reroute truck traffic, or they may come out and fill up potholes and things like that.
Okay. And so for question number 3, I have, how did you get to the point where you bike as much as you do in a day, or kind of how did you switch from going to biking like once a week to now you bike many miles every day?
I choose to bike especially now because, we're in the middle of this coronavirus, and it's a really weird time to be anywhere in the world. So I use bicycling as kind of a mental health check. For me, I get on a bike. I don't listen to music. I'll just go and be out in nature, and it just clears your mind. You focus on just pedaling and going forward. But I also, besides using it for mental health, I also use it for physical health. So it's a good workout. And I know if I'm going to eat pizza for dinner, or I'm going to go out with my friends, I know that I'm going to have to maybe pedal a little bit further than I normally do, because I want to burn off a few calories so that I can have fun and eat pizza at night.
Okay. So question number 4 is about your podcast that you recently started. So what made you want to start a podcast?
Yeah, so that's a fun story. I have been a contributor on a different podcast for a couple years.
I actually did not know that.
You did not know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was a podcast called Just Go Bike, and it was specific to RAGBRAI. So I worked for the Iowa Bicycle Coalition, and my boss was one of the hosts, and then the guy that ran RAGBRAI was the other host. So they would do a segment where they would kind of banter back and forth and talk about things happening in Iowa, with legislative stuff, with laws for bicyclists, but then also about RAGBRAI. And then it would become my turn, and I would interview people that do RAGBRAI. So it could be vendors who are along the route, or somebody who maybe survived cancer and became a bicyclist, or just all kinds of cool stories about people that do RAGBRAI. Well, then there was a shakedown this past fall. The guy who runs RAGBRAI actually left. He quit, and he took his entire staff with him. And so he decided to start a new ride that he was going to try and make it be like RAGBRAI. So there was a lot of weird things that were happening. And when that happened, the people that actually own RAGBRAI, they shut down that podcast. So we were just left, there's no more podcast anymore. So I took my segment, which I call Murphology, and I made it my own podcast. I'm like, I'm not going to wait around to see what happens with Just Go Bike. I'm just going to take my segment and make it my own. And granted, I'm not as popular as Just Go Bike was, but I'm definitely gaining a lot more people that listen in every week.
That's good.
Yeah.
So for the last question 5, how long did you think about starting your podcast before you actually started? What was kind of your, did you take a while to plan, or did you kind of get everything and start?
No, I knew exactly what it should be about, because I felt like I really was successful at the segment I had on the other podcast. So it was just a matter of financial. I had to buy the podcast equipment and headphones and microphones. So, and just it's kind of scary. You have to put yourself out there, and people will listen to you or they won't. You know what I mean? There's no in between. You either have listeners or you don't.
Yeah.
So I would say it took me about a month to make the leap to say, I think I can do this on my own, and I'm so glad I did.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have. So.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me interview you.
Yeah.